Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on HANA XS Training. In the last episode of our training session, we have seen how to create a HANA HCP account, how to create a database inside, and inside of that database now we're going to start development of our XS application. One important point to note that whenever you're using such a trial account for your HANA XS development, the validity for a database is 15 days. So if you have any work what you're doing with the database, please make sure that you save your work before it gets expired. After 15 days, you can create another one also yourself. So you can see it will be deleted in 13 days, 15 hours, 16 minutes. So this is what system is telling us, that this account will be deleted after these many 15 days from the day of creation, guys. So very important point. Now I'll just quickly restart my database, and you can see the moment you start your database, you will get these three links gets activated. The very first thing which you need to now do is click on SAP HANA Cockpit. SAP HANA Cockpit is the administration tool for SAP HANA. Let me just re-log in quickly, guys, and explain it to you. So I'll just quickly re-log into my HCP account and try to restart the instance of SAP HANA database. So let me just log on. And I'll just go to my database schemas, HDP0, which we had created, and you can see the service has been started by far. And now I'll just switch on to my SAP HANA Cockpit. So let me click on SAP HANA Cockpit, which is nothing but the administration tool for SAP HANA. Now you can see that system is popping me up for a credentials screen, where I will now provide credential as a system user, and I will provide my credentials which I had created yesterday for the system user while creating this account. So I click on log on, and system now logs me into my SAP HANA Administration Cockpit. This is the single place from where all your administration activity takes place. Now, before we get into this, let's try and understand what exactly system, different types of users working with the system does with this SAP HANA box. So first, let's get into the system and try and understand what is that different people working in SAP HANA with. So imagine your SAP HANA platform. This is your nothing but SAP HANA platform. Now, this appliance or platform is not just for one type of people. This platform is centrally used by almost every person working in the area of S4 HANA, ABAP on HANA, or SAP HANA BW related scenarios. So the first type of users who are there, who are the main important users, who are the administrators. Okay, they are administrators of SAP HANA system. What is the job of an administrator in SAP HANA system? The job of an administrator in SAP HANA system is to manage users. Okay, they will take care of managing all the users in the system. They will take care of taking database backup and recovery. They are responsible for creating roles. They are responsible for giving permissions. Okay, so these are all the administrator users who are responsible for making sure the overall health of the database, and also will be working with the creation and maintenance of the business users and technical users in the system. This is the first profile, first type of work what you typically get in SAP HANA box. Now, in SAP HANA system, there is a default user called system which gets created, who is the database admin. This is the user which is created in SAP HANA box by default, who is the administrator of the system, who is responsible for creating other users and managing it. Now, typically in a real-time project, we don't use system user. What we do is, initially when database setup is done, the system user is created. With that, we created administrator user, database administrator user, who are going to work with SAP HANA as an admin, and those we assign admin rights to them, and then we leave it up to them to decide. and then we deactivate the system user. This is typically in real world what we do. We don't often use system user for admin activities because there will be different people working in a project. Not just one system user which is shared with everyone can do the administration. There will be database administrators. Okay, so we will touch upon some part of this role also in our training, because it's important for us to understand the concept of roles. The second type of users are SAP HANA consultants, or maybe I would say the users who are related to BW scenarios. Okay, these are actually called SAP HANA modelers. What is these people doing? These people are responsible for making sure of creating information models. What is an information model? So let's imagine I have all my sales data for last 20 years in the system. Now I want to analyze some pattern on this data. I want to derive some kind of pattern looking into the data. How many laptops were sold in the month of March every year? How many total number of laptops were sold in the month of Christmas season? And what was the comparison between the sales of March season as well as the Christmas season? So such kind of analytical queries, if you want to write, the modelers are the people who are related to business warehouse. They will be responsible for doing it. So their main job is to model information available in tables. Okay, so they are responsible for creating information model, for example, attribute view, analytical view, calculation view, and decision tables. These are all the second type of users. Some part of the story we will also touch upon in the system. Now, what is the authorization you need in the system in order to be able to model SAP HANA models in the system? The first, default authorization. So SAP HANA box comes with the system user. Similar to that, it also comes with predefined roles. Okay, it comes with predefined roles. So there are two predefined roles which everybody must have in order to do modeler activity. One is called content admin. This is one role you need to be able to see the packages and their content. And then we also have another system role available in the system, which should also be assigned to the user, which I will be explaining in the system itself. Okay, so these are all the two things which people should have typically, ideally, in the system. So one, by default, whenever you create a user will get a role called public role. Okay, user will get a role called public role. But when you create a modeler user, you need to give two roles. One is content admin and one is called modeler role. Okay, these are all the two roles you need to give to any person who is going to do modeling in the system. Then comes is the third type of users, which are actually, we are talking about us, which are native HANA application developer. Okay, native HANA application developer, what is the main job of this guy? This guy is a hardcore developer who is responsible for creating applications which are natively running on SAP HANA database. There is, remember again repeating, there is no middleware here, extra middleware like ABAP or any other application layer. SAP HANA box itself self-contains an engine which is capable of executing all your processing orchestration logic. And what is that engine called? Anyone? We learned about it yesterday. What is that engine called? Which is self-contained itself to be able to create all the applications, which takes care of all the processing logic, all the orchestration logic required for an application. Yes, right answer, it's an XS engine. So native HANA application developer is mainly a developer, which you can call XS developer also, to be able to create following things. First, very important thing what these people create is database objects like tables, schemas, yeah, tables, schemas, sequences, indexes if needed, views, joins between tables, CDS views, all that will be created by the HANA native developer. First thing. Second, these guys will also be responsible for creating the processing logic, the business logic, like loop at internal table in ABAP, what we used to do. That's also done by this guy. And for that, he using something called server-side JavaScript programming paradigm. which we will discuss in detail. I will have a complete 2 hour of session on JavaScript. Those who have attended my Fiori training, we already discussed about JavaScript, but many of you were not there in Fiori training, or you were there and you forgot it. Don't worry, we will have a deep dive inside of SAP, inside of JavaScript. What is a client-side JavaScript? What is a server-side JavaScript? What is a JavaScript syntax? And we will understand what exactly JavaScript is capable of and its syntax. Okay, so we will have a deep dive inside in our next class. Then they will also be able to expose these JavaScript services outside using something called OData protocol. And finally, these people are responsible for creating user interfaces using HTML5, Fiori, and UI5. So this is what the job of an application developer is. Now, to perform its job, it also needs certain role, right? Isn't it? Everybody needs certain role to perform their job in the company. So those roles, what are all those roles? The important roles which are required for such people to be able to first of all access the web IDE tools. Okay, so there are 3 different roles which are used to be able to access web IDE tools in the system. Let me just put in those roles. These are all the 3 different roles which are required. So since the role names were big, I am kind of did a copy paste. Ideally, I'm not a fan of copy paste, but unfortunately, since the role names is quite big and difficult to remember for me, I have done a copy of them. So you can see these are all the 3 roles which any developer would need to be able to access the web-based development tool and work with XS development. So in today's session, I will show you creating our first application, a new user for SAP HANA development. A new user, I will show you creating a new user right from scratch as an administrator and giving this user modeler right and native HANA developer right to be able to create its first application. So these 3 roles are required to access the web tools. So first thing is accessing the tools. Once he is able to access the tool, then only he can do development, right? So first is accessing the tools. He need these roles. Then in order to build the database object, he would need certain roles which we will discuss later on when we start building database objects. Now, in order to manage these objects properly in the system, he would also need to look at the content area. So I will explain what is content in SAP HANA. So to be able to work with content, content area, which is nothing but packages. Okay, in SAP HANA, these are all packages. To be able to work with the content area or packages in SAP HANA, he would also need a role called, he would need execute right on a procedure called repository REST procedure. Okay, this is another authorization what the person need to be able to look at the content inside of a package. Okay, this is the role which every developer would need to be able to work with the packages inside of SAP HANA. The last, not the least, the main authorization to be able to manage new packages and development objects, he would need an authorization on repo. So there are 3 authorizations which are required for repo. We will discuss them in the system directly. Okay, there are 3 different authorizations required by the users in the system. So we will be discussing about them in the demo. So let's go ahead and start creating our first user for modeler as well as native HANA developer. As and when we progress, we will see more and more authorization issues keeps coming in. So my main intention is to not just teach XS, but to teach what are all the authorizations required necessarily to be able to work with it. Because in real-time projects, many times you don't have such authorizations, and then your admin doesn't know. Your admin will ask you only, tell me what authorization do you need to be able to successfully work. So these are all the authorizations which bare minimum required for any HANA XS developer. So though in SAP HANA Cloud Platform, there is a ready-made user created for you for development of native application. I would show you that also. And I would also show you creating a new user from scratch as an administrator and giving all this authorization to the user. Okay, we will look at the authorization concept more in detail in a minute. Let's get into the system. So now what I'll do is I'll just go back, and you can see now this is my system user. You can see the system user. It's a system user with which it is connected. So many times when you come to the database, always first click on this SAP HANA Cockpit, guys. Okay, this is the first activity you have to do. Don't click anywhere else, otherwise you will get into problem. The first and foremost thing you need to do is click on SAP HANA Cockpit. The moment you click on this cockpit, it will launch a new window, and in this new window you're gonna first get a pop-up like this. You can see this is the pop-up which I got yesterday. I took a screenshot of it. In this pop-up, you see you are not authorized to open HANA Cockpit. You will be assigned the necessary role. Click on OK. The moment you click on OK, system will assign some role to you, okay, to your user, and then it will take you to this screen. This is SAP HANA Cockpit. Now don't panic by looking at it. It looks like a Fiori application. Yes, indeed, it's a Fiori launchpad for managing all the SAP HANA activities. And now you see there is a tile called Manage Roles and Users. I get into it. Now, as I told you, there is a ready-made user for you to kickstart your HANA native development with all the roles assigned. Let's first explore that user. So that user will be always your P number of your HCP account. So if you come to your HCP account, you can see here P number trial, right? Just use the P number by removing the trial, and I will first show you adding this system as a system user, as admin user inside of your Eclipse. So I will go back to Eclipse, where I have already in the past added my local express edition system, which won't expire at all. And now I will show you adding our HANA Cloud Platform trial instance here in HANA Studio or in Eclipse. So I hope all of you yesterday have installed the Eclipse in your computer and you all have this screen available. Now, many times when you start Eclipse, you don't get such a screen. You will typically get this screen. Okay, this is the screen you will be getting when you start with Eclipse. How did I got that screen? That is called something perspective. So let's have a quick look at what is a perspective in Eclipse. So make sure that you have installed Eclipse Luna or Neon. Okay, and then inside of this Eclipse, what we have done, we have installed all the tools from http tools.hana.ondemand.com/neon. So SAP HANA Tool, Cloud Integration Tool, Cloud Development Tool, and SAP UI5 Development Toolkit. These are all the 4 tools which I asked you yesterday to install, and I hope all of you have installed it by far. Now, getting into the system, first thing what you need to do is you need to switch to the perspective. What is a perspective? So a perspective in Eclipse development environment is, in Eclipse development environment, perspective is necessary windows which are required for specialized development. Okay, if you want to do specialized development, Eclipse is a tool which has evolved over a period of time, and it was mainly introduced for website developments as well as Java based development. But by popularity of Eclipse tool, what SAP have done, they have extended the Eclipse. It's an open source. As you see, every time there's an open source, anybody can extend it based on their needs. So SAP have developed additional plugins which we had installed yesterday in the Eclipse environment to be able to do specialized development. And which is this specialized development we are doing? We are doing XS development, native HANA development, which is a specialized development. So native HANA application development is the specialized development here. So to be able to do native HANA application development, you need a couple of things. What are all you need? What we need to do it? We need to be able to, first of all, create or add our system. Yeah, add our HANA system, to be very precise. This is first activity we need. Second, we need a concept of repository. What is concept of repository? We need to be able to store the projects, right? We need a repository concept. Third thing, we should be able to work with the different files required for HANA projects. Application development projects, right? This is all we need, guys. So these are all the things we need. Now, if you come to the system when you are just launching your Neon Eclipse, you see you don't have an option to add your system. Do you see an option here to add your system? Absolutely no. So you need to do a specialized XS development, Native HANA development. Hence, you need a perspective to open. And that all these perspectives are available by clicking on the top right corner. You see a button called Open Perspective. Just click on that button and I see it is having all the tools available. So I can do an ABAP development on Eclipse, which is covered in ABAP on HANA training, which we had used also in our ABAP on HANA training. Similarly, we have perspective for HANA Modeler. As I told you, there is a people who are doing modeling in SAP HANA. So they will use probably modeler perspective. Who we are, anyone, who we are, what we are. Out of these three people, who we are native HANA developers. So which perspective do we need to be able to perform the relevant tasks in our context of HANA native development? We would use SAP HANA model, SAP HANA development perspective. Clear, guys? Why we need SAP HANA? And if there is an administrator who want to just do an administration of system, which perspective do you think they would be using? Anyone? The system administrators of SAP HANA, which perspective is important for them? Anyone? Which perspective out of these ones which you see is important for administrators of SAP HANA? You can see SAP HANA administration console. This is important for them. Clear? So we will go with this one. Click on OK. And now you see the view have changed completely. You've got a new section over here. And this new section has systems, it has repositories, it has projects. Clear, guys? So these are all the three things you've got it. Let's discuss about them. Before that, let's add our system to the SAP to the Eclipse environment. Now I just come here, click on plus. It's not a local system. The local ones are these ones which I had showed you installing HANA Express Edition in yesterday's class. And now we have add cloud system over here. So I choose add cloud system. And then I go to my sub accounts, and in my sub accounts I'm going to enter the account. Now remember, guys, the region host, it should be hana-trial.ondemand.com. If it is hana.ondemand.com, change it to hana-trial.ondemand.com, because we created a trial account to be able to work with it. Okay, now then comes is the sub account information, sub account name. So I'm just going to give a sub account. So it will be, just go back to the browser. You can see on the top the URL. Inside the URL, you will see something called P number with the trial. That's your sub account name, guys. Copy this name, put it in the sub account, and now come here and put the username. So username will be just the sub account name excluding trial. Okay, I excluded trial. I put my username, system picks up the password automatically. I say next, and system would now add this user for me. Now remember, guys, this is the user which has all the authorization already assigned in the system to be able to do native HANA application development. Clear, everyone? This user has all the authorization necessary assigned to him. Sorry, this is the user of your cloud platform account. Maybe I just come here and now I'll log in as a system user in database and create a new database user for all of us. So let me just go. Maybe first I'll log in as administrator system. And I choose this, and you see it is also, I had yesterday logged in, so it is stored my password. So I remember my password which I given during setup of my account, and I say finish. So I am just logging in as a system user who is the administrator of SAP HANA, which means I can now create new users. I can assign some authorization to those users, and that's all completely possible as an administrator user, because system is an administrator user. So from a local system, you can see I got connected to my SAP HANA system. Okay, now same thing what you see here, all this content is also visible directly on the browser. When you go back to your SAP HANA Administration Cockpit, you see something called Manage Roles and Users. SAP HANA Manage Roles and Users. This is the section where you will see the similar view like this view, like security view. So let's talk about first the security view, which is more important, because until you have a user, you will not be able to proceed. The first and foremost thing comes is having a new user for us, right? So now in this section, you see users, available users inside of system. So you see also yesterday, we created a Shine user for our demo application. I will show you running a demo application. How can you check existing SAP HANA sample application for education purpose? And now you see there are roles. There are different roles in the system which are assigned. So what is a role and what is a user? Let's quickly define the term user and term role. Okay. So what is a user? User is nothing but it is a person in a role to be able to do its job. Okay, so you hired a technical user, you hired a developer who is going to develop an application for your company used by business users, right? So that's what a user in the system is all about. What is a role? Role is nothing but the necessary authorization. Authorizations assigned to the user to be able to perform the required tasks, right? That's what a role is. Now, inside of a role, you will have collection of authorizations. So role is always misinterpreted with just an authorization. Role is a collection of authorization. Okay, role is a collection of authorization. Role is not just one authorization. One authorization is to do one activity, but role is typically a collection of authorizations. Clear, everyone? There is always a myth, we get confused between authorization and role. Role is a collection of authorizations. Very important. Okay, there could be multiple. One could say that I want to give an authorization to create a schema to this user. I want to give an authorization to another user to be able to create a new project. I want to give an authorization to a user to be able to create a package. I want to give an authorization to be able to look at standard SAP HANA packages. I want to give an authorization to be able to give, create an application role itself. So there are different authorization which you can control in the system based on the need. Okay, it's so granular that you can control the what is that a person should be able to, not able to do it in the system. Okay, so that's what it is all about. Now, as I mentioned, you will see the system user, he's the administrator. Now, it doesn't mean that he can do development. He himself don't have certain authorization. He cannot do everything in the system. He himself is restricted. He is able to grant the authorization to somebody else, but not to grant himself. Otherwise, there will be a problem, right? So that's the reason we typically start with creating a new application developer user. Okay, an application developer user who will be able to do things in the system. Now, just I want to promote the web-based development tools, because the future of these client tools, Eclipse and HANA Studio, is no more in the world. Because SAP is also promoting web-based development tools. You don't need to install anything in your local computer. You see, you don't need to install HANA because you have HCP, HANA Cloud Platform, to be able to give you an HANA DB instance. You don't need to install any HANA Studio and Eclipse because SAP also offers you web-based development tooling from SP6 onwards inside of SAP HANA. And then you can use all your administration activity over here. You see the same view what you were seeing over there in Eclipse or HANA Studio is also available here. Okay, system user's default password is the one which you had set yesterday while setting up this database. Let me just recall that step again for all of you, just to show you what will be the user of system user. It's not default. It is something which you have to give when you're setting up your new database account. Yeah, so let me just recall that quickly. So when you create new, you see here you gave a system user password in yesterday's class. That's the password of your system user you got to give it. Okay, so please practice regularly so that you don't forget these concepts. Okay, now coming back to our system, and now I just go back here and you see I clicked on this tile manage user roles. So this is what system user typically does. He manages all the users and role, and now I'll show you creating a new user over here in the system. Okay, and you see there are predefined roles available in SAP HANA. See, predefined roles which SAP HANA delivers you. Now all these roles AFL are for application function library related to machine learning and predictive analytics algorithms. We are not in need for them at the moment. Now you see there's a modeling role which I was telling you about. There's a modeling role which is required for person to be able to do modeling of information models, content admin to be able to look into the packages, okay, and then a public role which is typically granted to every single user created inside of system. And then comes some administration activity roles which are also available here, admin activity roles. Together with that you see some IDE roles. See, IDE core base role, IDE core role, IDE role, catalog developer, developer and edit developer. So these three IDE roles we need to be able to access web development workbench inside of SAP HANA by a developer. Clear everyone? And more we dig deep into database, we will see some more interesting roles which are available in the system for access user, access access dev user. You see access user view, access user admin view. There are different roles which are available delivered by SAP HANA completely together with the database. You see access LM role developer, access LM role administrator. This LM role are lifecycle manager role. Okay, these are lifecycle manager role. And then you have tool role, IDE, web IDE based roles which are available here. So we will be looking into it step by step. Let's see creating a new user without giving him a role and see how helpless that user will be. And then how can we help the user as an administrator to give him the necessary authorization. So I am promoting here the web development tool. Of course, the same activity you can carry it out directly inside of your Eclipse tool. But I want to promote the new tool because this is the future, guys. Okay, in companies when you go, you would see that people will be more concerned about web tools, web development tools in SAP HANA. And it's why not? Because it is completely, you will be able to run it in the browser. You have 24/7 availability. There is no local footprint. There is no local installation required. And the craziest thing what you can also do if you're sitting on a beach on your vacation and you get a call from your manager to fix up a quick bug, you can directly launch this guy up into the mobile device inside of your browser of a mobile. You can go into the code, fix this up and patch the code again to the main code base. That's the beauty of web development tools, guys. Isn't it, right? So that's the reason SAP is promoting the web development tools. The future with the client tools is no more certain because they will go away. Who will use client tools? Who want to install things in the local system, right? Probably not until unless you really necessarily need it, right? So that's the reason web tools are more important. Let's create a new user for us. So I'm going to right click, say new user, and you can see I get a nice little cute screen for creating a new user. I think there's too much content to look at, but right now we're not getting into it. The first thing comes is the user over here. I'm going to give the username. So let me give the username as Anubhav. I'm going to give an initial password to the user. So let me make it I capital initial 1. Yeah. And I'll say this user is allowed to use SAP logon ticket to be able to connect to the system. And now I can also provide a validity for the user after which it will expire or gets activated automatically. And then comes is a session client field, very important field. Who attended my ABAP on HANA training? In ABAP on HANA, what happens is there is an ABAP system who connects to SAP HANA system. And then in ABAP, we have a concept of client field, isn't it? So what is the majority of the application tables in SAP ABAP are client dependent tables. Okay, and client is a business entity inside of an SAP system. So SAP HANA over a period of time also evolved to be able to work with ABAP systems, NetWeaver ABAP systems, and that's the reason we can also default for a certain users who are created for ABAP system as a default client here inside of this section. So if I'm creating a user inside of HANA to be able to connect with, by my ABAP system, okay, I would give here the default client which it used for the ABAP system. Clear, guys? This is the client field used for that purpose. Since we are doing native HANA development, we can ignore this field. You can also keep it 001 or 800 whatsoever you like as a test client. Fine. If you want more information about ABAP on HANA training, I have a course offered for ABAP on HANA training on my website onlinefiorytrainings.com. You can go ahead and check out ABAP on HANA training over here. Complete ABAP on HANA ABAP stack running inside of on top of SAP HANA database. We will talk about here deep about information models. This is a certification content which has everything inside to be able to make you understand ABAP HANA and S4HANA technical concepts like CDS views, creating analytical applications, as well as doing BOPF CDS integration and different variety of Fiori applications. You can see some sample over here. How does these applications are built inside of an SAP S4HANA on top of CDS with UI annotations. Okay, let's come back. So I'm just giving some password here, and then I'm just going to give some roles. So you see granted roles, system privileges, object privileges, analytical privileges, package privileges, application privileges, and privileges on user. So this is the complete authorization concept of SAP HANA. So there are different sections to give him different level of accesses in the system to this user. So first of all comes is granted roles. As I mentioned, roles are collection of authorizations. So if you want to make it easy your life, you yourself also creates roles. Roles is a bundle of authorizations given to the user. So I can grant those roles. System also gives me default roles. As I was showing you here in this section, there are some default roles which are given by system, which I can give it to user. So typically a new user which is created would get public role by default. So you can see it's not displaying me here, but the moment I save this user, it will be created. Then comes the system privileges. System privileges, okay, let me also note down what is each section is about so that you can remember it. So what are all these different roles which are responsible for user? Okay. Now, before getting into this role concept, let me also show you something interesting. So let's come back to our client development tool. I'm going to choose my system and I'm going to show you here administration section. So I click on administration section. First to show you how does this HANA box looks like. So inside of SAP HANA box, what are all the different services which are active? This is what I wanted to demonstrate to you so that you can understand a little bit of XS architecture. How does the things are working? So you can see it's HANA 1.0 database, okay? 1.0 database on SP12, which means you will be able to do HANA XS and XS Advanced development in this system because XS was available from SP5 onwards as we discussed in yesterday's class. Now coming to the system landscape, you can see here different services which are running. What is a service here? It's nothing but an operating system process. So when you install an SAP HANA database inside of a SUSE Linux machine, in the machine there are different operating system processes which are running for SAP for making up and running your SAP HANA DB. So this is what the system processes which it is showing you to be able to work with SAP HANA database. The main process here is index server process, which is nothing but your real database relevant capability of HANA, which holds the information about your engines, calculation, analytical, OLAP engine, your query server, your SQL engine. It also includes row store and column store. It also is responsible for logging all the data input output to SAP HANA. This is the main database engine, which is actually true in-memory database of SAP HANA. Then comes is your web dispatcher. Your web dispatcher is nothing but responsible for HTTP request. Okay, any HTTP request from browser which you're sending to HANA database, as I told you yesterday, SAP have also embedded something called a lightweight application server as well as a web server inside to be able to respond to the request response to the application. So inside of this box, what are all the different concepts we have it involved? So what are all the different components inside of this box relevant for SAP HANA native development? We have it. The first thing we have is something called a web dispatcher, which is nothing but is also called an ICM manager. Okay, it's called an ICM manager. So whenever a request comes from browser or from any from the browser, this is what this process does. ICM, Internet Communication Manager process, which is nothing but your web dispatcher. Okay, then once this access is accepted, this request will be sent to something called your access engine. Okay, now it goes to the access engine, and then based on the need, access engine further sends this request to the actual database. So database is your index server. So inside of this you have your index server. So if there is a need to read write data inside of your actual data store, it goes to the index server. So this is what is happening inside of this box. So at different levels your user need different authorizations to be able to work with the database, to be able to work with Access and the web development tools, and to be able to work with your packages as a modeler. Okay, so this is what is happening inside. So index server is your actual database. Now since it is the current database which I'm having is above SP11. Okay, it is above SP11. Your access services are running inside something called name server. So your access server services, your access engine and access advanced engine, they are all running inside something called a name server, because we are above SAP HANA SP11. So from SP11 onwards, Access and XSA both were combined inside of this called name server. Clear, everyone? So this is what overall these processes which are important for you to know. Only these three processes which are most important for you to know, that where all these our services running in. Clear? Now let's go back, and I'm just going to go back to web tool. Now, so this is about the security section. What are all the other sections we have? Now the second important section is catalog and content. Now there are many myths about the catalog and content area. So let's define what exactly is the catalog is all about and what is exactly the content is all about. Let's talk about it in just brief, and then only we can understand the concept of roles and authorization in detail. So what is the catalog and what is the content? So catalog is nothing but is the standard runtime objects. Okay. Okay, my voice is going down. Let me just check. So what are all these sections? Catalogs and content. So let's first define what is the content inside of SAP HANA. So you see, there is something called default content which SAP delivered to you. Public SAP system local. So what is content inside of SAP HANA and what is packages of SAP HANA? So how do you define in interview when somebody asks you content inside SAP HANA? How do you define what is content? Okay, so content is not part of core database installation. Okay. So when you install, you don't get any content. You don't get applications, guys, by default. Okay, you don't get applications by default. So content is not part of your default installation of SAP HANA box. Okay, it's not part of default installation of SAP HANA box. Okay, so something which you need, your company need, it's not part of SAP HANA box. It is delivered by SAP as part of SAP HANA optimized solution. Okay, SAP HANA optimized solution, it's part of delivered of SAP HANA optimized solution, is created in SAP HANA based development projects. So all the content what you see here, this will be created by developers. Okay, either modelers or developers. So developers are responsible for creating the content inside of HANA. Clear everyone? Sometimes these objects which developers are creating, so the objects which developers are creating are known as objects or artifacts. So whenever in our training I am telling artifact, okay, whenever in our training if I am telling artifacts, I mean by a development object. An artifact could be, example, a table, it could be a sequence, it could be XSJS file, it could be an HTML file, it could be a YAML file, it could be a index file. Okay, so it could be a file, it's an artifact, guys. This is what comprises inside of a content. Content is comprised of all variety of objects. It could include schemas, attribute views, analytical views, procedures, privileges, SQL script, JavaScript, roles, permissions, everything is part of content. Okay, now looking into the content, you can see what is the life cycle content follows. So content is also organized using packages. So the entire content inside of SAP HANA is organized using packages. So let me just show you how the content is organized inside of our SAP HANA box. You can see all the content is organized inside packages. Clear everyone? So you can see here everything is organized inside packages. That's what is giving grouping for your content. So what is a package? What is the main role of a package? So let's talk about package quickly. How do you define a package? So packages are core concepts of SAP HANA repository. They build a folder structure to group your content. In ABAP, can you develop a program in ABAP without adding it to a package? Anyone? Is it possible to develop a ABAP program without adding it to a package? Anybody? Is it possible to store ABAP program without creating a package? Anyone? Is it possible to store a ABAP program without a package? Not possible, because either you have to use local package, which is $temp, or you have to use some productive package for your development. So that's what here also, it builds a folder structure, and it is all the content is grouped inside the packages. So it's a way of organizing your content. That's what the package is all about. Then it also helps to control authorization, like who can develop in this package. Okay, this is what also it does. Then all the authorizations are held at package level. So you need to give authorizations at the package level, guys, not at an individual artifact level. Okay, the most important part of a package forms a namespace concept for SAP HANA development. It holds a namespace concept. How? For example, forms the namespace concept inside of SAP HANA. For example, if I create an employee table inside a package XYZ. Okay, so if I'm creating an employee table inside of a package XYZ, what will be my table name? What will be my table name? My table name, which will get created, will be XYZ double colon employee. Clear, everyone? How is the package creating a namespace for your development artifact? Which means if I have another package and same employee table, so if I have a package ZYX, what will be the table name? Anyone? What will be the table name if I have a package ZYX? What will be my table name? Anybody? Who will tell me what will be my table name? If I have ZYX, what will be my table name? My table name will be ZYX double colon and then it will be employee. Clear, everyone? This will be my table name, which means SAP can deliver standard content to us with some name inside their packages. And we can create same name of artifact inside of our package. Is that clear to everyone? Important funda, folks. What is that what is that package helps you with? It serves a purpose of namespace for you so that you will be able to develop content with your own names, with your own need. SAP can deliver an employee table and you can create your own employee table inside your package. As a result, you will see that there is no conflict in names because package name is added as a prefix of the table name. Clear, everyone? What is the role of a package inside of a system? And such group of packages becomes the content at the end of the day. So actually speaking, packages store the information, the design time information of an artifact. Okay. If you want to just quickly note down, package store the design time information of an artifact. Okay. For example, when in the next session, I will start creating table. I will be creating a file. So I will be creating just a file. I'll not create a table. I'll create a file which represents a table. And when you activate this, okay, when you activate it, what system does? System will create a table inside of SAP HANA catalog, which is nothing but your runtime object. So this is your design time object, okay, and this is your runtime object, which is nothing but catalog. So catalog is nothing but a runtime object created with the help of a design time object. So in the area, bottom area here, in the bottom area, you will have your design time objects. When you activate them, it gets created as a runtime object. So when you activate, okay, when you activate any of these objects below, that would lead to creation of runtime objects. Clear, everyone? What is happening here? Runtime objects gets created out. Okay, is that clear to everyone? What is a design time object and what is a runtime object? So whenever you have a package, you create something, You create a file, you create something, you activate it, it creates a runtime object. Now I'll tell you why are we doing like this. What is the reason are we doing like this? Okay, just give me a second. Why are we doing like this? The reason is very simple. Can anybody tell me a typical development landscape? What is a typical development landscape you have? Anyone? What is a typical development landscape in any development system? What is a typical development landscape you have? You have your development, you have your quality, you have your production. Now suppose I want to create a database table. Okay, I want to create a database table and I want to then transport this database table to quality in production. Now suppose if I'm using create table statement and I will say create table tab and then say column 1 as a varchar column. Okay, this is what I did. Now what I need to do to create the table now in the quality system, anybody? What I need to do to create a table now in the quality system? I have used, no, you can't transport this. This is a SQL code. It's a SQL code, guys. How will you transport this? You can't. You have to write the same code in quality also. You have to write the same code in production also. Okay. Now tomorrow there is a need to change the table structure. You want to add a new column. What will you do? You will go back to again quality, development, production. And there is a high chance that your structure in development is different than the quality and the production. And imagine like this, you have 5,000 tables. What will happen to you? Isn't that a problem? Using SQL code to replicate or use the SQL files, which has all the code to patch or create the database object and run that SQL file in individual systems. Isn't that a problem, guys? Right? It's a big problem. How do we solve this problem? Your objects may go out of sync. You have large amount of SQL files which you keep on floating here and there and keep running them in Q&P system, which will lead to inconsistencies sometimes. Okay, so patching becomes so difficult. That's why we have a concept of design time and runtime objects. You just transport the design time object, it goes to quality system, activation takes place, and then it persists automatically a runtime object. Similarly, when the object reaches to the production system, you create the production system, this object gets activated and it creates the runtime object automatically. And the patching also becomes easy. You don't have to touch the SQL code for altering the table. You don't have to also migrate your data manually. Like for example, there's a table which has 500 records and now I want to add a new column. So what will happen to my data? Table will not allow me activation in SQL because the data may get lost. That's the reason what we do, we use design time object. So when you activate the object, during the activation process, system understand that there's a data into it. System will take this data and put it into a shadow table. Then system clear your main table, puts the data as a backup into a shadow table. It adapts the structure of the table and puts the data back from shadow table to the main table. That's what your data dictionary in ABAP does when you transport your data dictionary objects with a changed structure into the quality. Isn't it? The same thing happens here. That's the concept of a repository, guys. We store all our objects inside of packages as a design time objects. And when we activate them, the corresponding runtime object is created inside of a catalog. So we have content as our design time objects and we have catalog as our runtime objects. Is this concept clear to everyone? Why are we doing this? Everyone, is this concept clear? So usually in the trainings, majority of the trainer just cover the concept of schema. Okay, this is called schema and this is called this. They don't explain the reason why we have two different packages, catalog and content. This is the reason, because we want to make sure that our runtime objects are system managed. However, design time objects are developer managed, where you tell what to do. System takes care of the best practice to activate this object and create and adapt your runtime object automatically, rather than you writing SQL code where you can do mistakes in SQL code and it disturb your system. Clear, guys, everyone? Did you understand the concept of packages, artifact, why design time object, what is runtime object? Okay. How do you move D to Q? You just have a .SQL file. You simply give it to your administrator to run that SQL file. That's what you do. This is how you do. Yes. So what is a design time object example? HDB table is a design time object. It's just a file. On activation of such a file, system creates a database table for you. Okay. HDB schema is a design time object inside of SAP HANA. When you activate it, what it creates? Anybody? What it creates? When you activate this, what is that it will create? Anyone? It will create a schema. There is nothing called HDB access. There's something called HDB sequence. You have something called HDBDD, which is for CDS, new syntax, which we'll be looking into upcoming days. For HANA CDS, we have HDB role, we have HDB procedure, even your XSJS, it's a design time object, XSJS file. These are all design time objects. When you activate them, system would create runtime object inside of your catalog. Clear, everyone? What is a design time object and what is a runtime object? What is a package and what is a catalog? Now, catalog is a collection of schemas, okay, which includes the runtime object. To be very precise, if we say, what is the catalog? What is a catalog? Catalog is group of schemas which contains the runtime objects of database. Clear, everyone? This is what it includes. All the runtime objects of which are stored in database will be held inside this. Schema is a mandatory database object. Which is used to group the data for system. Okay. So now, for example, if I have an ABAP system connecting to SAP HANA. So if I have an ABAP system which is connecting to SAP HANA database. Okay. What is that system does? System won't create multiple schema. There will be one schema dedicated to ABAP system inside of SAP HANA. And this schema name is typically SAP sys ID of ABAP system. If your ABAP system ID is S4H, then the schema name will be SAP S4H. Okay. In this, all the tables related to your data dictionary in ABAP system gets stored. Clear, everyone? This is what schema does. So if you are creating a project inside of SAP HANA Native HANA application development, the good practice is one schema per project. Okay, we create one schema per project, per application. This is what we do. Sometimes it's also one-to-one. Suppose you want to create related application, multiple application related to each other, like an application with sales order, same application also has a dashboard, same application also has create sales order, then all of them connects to same schema. Is that clear to everybody? What exactly we are doing here? What is the catalog? What is the package? What is the content area? Okay. So now with regard to these objects, you need different authorizations in the system. Okay. So let's get into system, create our user now so that you can understand now the authorizations properly. Okay. So you can now understand easily the authorizations properly. Now, before we get into it, let's quickly understand the concept of repository. So what is repository? Where are these run design time objects stored? They are stored inside of a repository. Why we need repository? Because you are not the only one who is developing. So inside of SAP HANA, you have something called repository. Okay. Which is actually used for version management of your design time objects. So I have a developer 1 and I have a developer 2, or maybe n number of developers. They should be able to work centrally with this repository to be able to read write packages, read write design time object informations inside of this repository. Clear, everyone? So repository is a central place which is used for development process, where multiple developers can share together. In a shared environment, they can work together with your development objects. And each of these developers will also have their private workspace where they are developing, which is nothing but essentially your Eclipse workspace, guys, where they are developing, where their local objects are stored. So in ABAP, we have concept of local object. Here, in this case, local object is your private repository, private workspace. And in ABAP, we have SEAT, ABAP repository, which is equivalent to here this HANA repository, which is storing the system, the versions of the artifacts centrally in the system. So you can do activation, you can do save. In ABAP, what do we do when we create ABAP program? We first save it, we do check, and we activate it. The moment you activate, it is available, it is persisted in the system. Here, activation means creating the runtime object. And all the developers now can have an access to these files within a package particular to your team. So repository in SAP HANA, if you want to just define what is a repository inside of an SAP HANA. So artifacts are grouped by packages, are grouped using packages, but they are stored. The files, okay, the files which you're creating are stored inside repository. So multiple developers can check out and check in files inside repository. So you don't have to mail to your developer that, okay, I made this change in this file, please adopt. Imagine what will happen if you have to mail each other the changes which you are doing in your development objects. It will be a nightmare for you. That's the reason we have repository concept. Okay. Now, a commit process will store the local artifact to remote repository. Okay. It will just send a store. It will store. If you want to create a file and you want to store it, you have to fire something called commit. Okay. You have to fire something called commit. And then you have to activate to generate necessary runtime objects. Is that clear to everyone? What is called commit and what is called activate? Commit means I am going to store this file which is in my local computer to the repository inside of server. Activate means now I'm ready to create the necessary object inside of my catalog. Let's say if I create an HDB table, I activate it. This would then create a real table inside of system. Clear, everyone? So multiple developers can commit simultaneously multiple files, different variety of files. It is stores in repository, but until you activate, it won't generate. And when you want to transport, you transport your package, guys, through a delivery unit. We will also look at the lifecycle management using delivery units of our packages in our upcoming days. And that time you will also understand how we are transporting these objects from dev system to quality and production. And when they reaches to the system, the activation takes place and the necessary runtime objects are generated. You don't have to mail .SQL files to your co-developers or your administrator to run them in quality and production manually. not required. There's a complete development lifecycle management done via repository, catalogs, and catalogs and content areas. Clear, everyone? So these are all the concepts which are bare minimum for us to know as a developer in the system. Now let's move on, and now you can understand easily the concept of these authorizations inside of system. So first is granted roles. Granted roles are used for ready to use roles inside of SAP HANA. Okay, so SAP HANA offers a standard role, ready-made roles for well-known activities like model development, native HANA development. This is what SAP HANA offers. I can grant these roles to the users based on their need in to perform their job functions. Okay, so that this is the first section, granted roles. Okay, by default, when I create a user, public role will be granted to the user. Then comes is system privileges. The system privileges are mainly used for the users to give them the authorizations relevant for system artifacts. Okay, so whenever you want to give authorization to the users to be able to perform the functions related to system like database recovery, okay, database recovery, they will be able to create take a backup of database. Okay, they will be able to create users, they will be able to create R scripts. So these are all the system administration related activities. So if you see catalog read, this is one system activity. So there are different activities inside of system which people will be using to be able to perform different tasks. Okay, so this is why we use the system section. So system concept, system will be able to help users to be able to work with the system relevant authorizations like taking database recovery, taking database backup. All those authorizations related to system should be granted with the help of system. Clear, everyone? This is the second property which we use to be able to give authorizations to the users. Okay. Then comes the next one, which comes is the object privileges. This is the main one, which is given for the authorization of catalog objects like schema. If I want to give user to be able to create new schema, create new table, create new view procedure, if I want to give these authorizations to the user, I can use the object privileges. So system privileges for performing system relevant tasks like database backup and recovery, admin activities. So if I want to make a user who joined me in my team as a HANA administrator, I want to give some authorization for him to become an administrator. So I will give him the authorization using system privileges, admin activities. Okay, system privileges for admin activities, guys. This is what we use system privileges for. All the admin tasks which are required, we will be giving system privileges to the user for administration activities. Then comes next is the privileges for object privileges. So object privileges are for the they are mainly also known as SQL privileges. Okay, they are known as SQL privileges also. So object privileges or SQL privileges, they are mainly used for the system administrators to give an activity to the users to be able to work with different variety of objects inside of HANA, to be able to work with schemas, able to read, create, edit, execute schema objects. Okay, this is what object privileges authorization. You can control at object level. So I can say plus, and I can say I want to give authorization to this user to be able to work with the schema. Let's say just go here, and I can see whether this user will be able to activate a procedure, whether this user will be able to create a schema or not be able to create a schema. All that comes under object privileges, guys. Okay, these are all the object privileges. There are a lot of ready-made object privileges. You can see it in the system. Okay, then comes is analytical privileges. Analytical privileges are mainly used for the purpose of giving authorization at analytical level. Privileges. They're mainly for data level security, for analytical queries. For example, you created a view which is displaying sales order for different sales organization. Now, can you give authorization to a user of this analytical view which displays him sales order for other organizations also? Probably not. You are not interested to do that because you don't want him to see sales orders which is actually created by somebody else for different sales organization. You want to make sure that he is only able to see the sales orders created for his organization. So such is the data level authorizations which you can give using analytical privileges. Clear, everyone? Data level. We will talk about it when we will go to the advanced topics. We will see how can we control data level security using analytical privileges. Then comes is the package privileges. What is package privileges does? It controls the authorization for package level. For example, who can develop. So authorization at package level. Example, who can develop inside of a package, right? That's a package level privileges we give it. Then next one is application privileges. This is more important for SAP HANA native developers. Application privileges. You will be creating apps, isn't it? In this course, we will be creating different variety of applications using native HANA application developer. Now, do you think these apps which we create are accessible for everyone in the system? Anybody can go and create a sales order with the app which you created. Would you like to give access to your app to everyone in the system? Maybe not. Let's see, you created an app which is displaying salary information in a Fiori application. Would you give authorization by default to everyone in the system? Maybe not. So you need to define application privilege roles yourself as a HANA developer, native HANA developer, and then those roles, those application privileges will be granted by the administrator using application privileges section. Clear, everyone? So you will be creating the role development inside of for your application, and for those application privileges we will be granting the authorization using application privileges. So application authorizations which you will be creating. Last comes is privileges on user. I want to make a copy of a user as it's whatever authorization given to this user, I want those. So since for that case you can go with the privileges on user. You can see assign authorization on user in order to control whom object can be modified. So that's a privileges on users. Clear, everyone? All these authorizations. Now let me just create my user and show you what happens when he don't have any authorization. One more important rule. Whenever we create a user, system automatically creates a schema for that user also. Okay. There's a question here. So question from Avinash is application privileges are the one provided by catalog role of Fiori. Am I correct? Not necessarily. That is something called launchpad related thing which you are talking here. That is nothing to do with this application privileges. When we get into next couple of sessions, you will see we will create ourselves roles, and those roles are required for people to be able to access the application. So that's where the application privileges comes into picture. Okay, we'll see that in upcoming days. The one which you are talking is Fiori roles, which are for the launchpad guys, not for the purpose of database relevant application privileges. Okay, so whenever you create a user, system would automatically create a schema for that user also. Let's get into system and save this user. I'm not adding any authorization for time being. Let me save this user. You'd see this user gets created. You see user got created now. So I can see here in users, Anubhav is available now. So this user is available now. Now, let me log in this user with my client tool and show you what happens. So I can right click here and I can say add system with different user, or maybe since I want to promote the web tools, I will go and try and log in with web tools. So maybe what I want to now do is I want to log in to HANA Lifecycle Manager, which is for the development of HANA objects using my user Anubhav. So what I will do is I'll go to an incognito mode in Chrome browser so that I'll be able to launch it here, and then I will just enter my account details, and then I will choose SAP HANA IDE. So first of all, your account details, and then put /SAP/HANA/IDE. Okay, just put /SAP HANA IDE to be able to access the web development tools inside of HANA. So maybe I just put this thing here and just in the PPT so that you guys can access SAP HANA IDE. So put path /SAP/HANA/IDE, which is web development tool. Remember guys, web ID is little different than this. This is just called River development environment for developing your XS application. XS advanced application development is done using web IDE. This is just IDE, though it's running in web browser, it's an old IDE which is used for XS based development. Okay, and now you see it's asking me for username password. I just give my username Anubhav and I will put initial one. Click on OK. You see it's now asking me to change. No problem. I'll change my password. Click on OK. And you see forbidden. You see user don't have authorization to access the IDE. The very first thing which the fresh user, very fresh user, a new user. Now imagine this is what you are also facing in your company when you're starting SAP HANA IDE with your user, which admin has created and gave you. And they don't tell you that they have not granted you necessary authorizations. So what is that? You will tell your administrator of what authorization to give it to you to be able to access web development tools for access. Let's go back to the PPT. So we have already discussed about it. So you see you need these three authorizations to be able to access the IDE tools. Okay, access IDE tools. You see, access IDE tools. Catalog developer, developer, edit developer. Let's come back and go to the system. As a system admin, as an admin user, go to the user Anubhav. And now I'm going to give him the authorization to be able to access the necessary, the necessary authorizations to be able to access the IDE tools, guys. This is what I'm going to do. So let me just go back, and that's available here in the application privileges, and I search for access. And you see these are all the different access privileges we have it available. Maybe I just search for IDE because those are IDE privileges. And you see these are all the IDE privileges. So I want to give him certain authorizations to be able to do for certain things. Catalog developer, developer, editor, developer. So SAP HANA XS IDE. Oops, I don't see it here. Let me just see object privileges. So, and also you see guys, there is an Anubhav schema got created first time when user logged in, and this is now granted by sys user. Sys is a default user inside of database which is available who grants authorization automatically created content. So Anubhav schema got also created, which is available now in my object privileges. Let me just give him the authorization to be able to access web tools. Maybe I'll just quickly go back to our system administrator console, select the user Anubhav, go to application privileges, click on plus. You can give it here also, and you can say access IDE roles we need. Just a second. Search for access. No, it's not showing. I think, let me just check where exactly I can find them. No, not here, of course not. That's for admin activities, object privileges. Yes, catalog, editor, and developer, development expert, and display. Maybe I want to give these authorizations to the user: developer authorization, development expert, catalog, and editor authorization. You see, this is the editor authorization. You can also give security authorization if he is able to access the security section, but I don't want to give security authorization to be able to manage the security in the system. So I just give catalog and editor authorization for time being to this user. It's also written inside of the PPT. You can see catalog developer, developer, and editor developer. These three you need. Maybe I just search for this XS IDE roles. Directly I search for XS IDE roles. It's not displaying me here. Maybe I just go and choose this catalog editor, and yeah. So this authorization I have given now. Let's go and say okay, and I'm just gonna save these guys. And you see, I'm saving this user, and let's come back and refresh our page inside of this. So forbidden, press enter. Still, I think I did not get the authorization to be able to access the right things. There is something I'm missing. Let me just check again. How could this happen? Maybe I'm just going to give him LM authorizations for developer, development expert, display, configure. Click on OK. Catalog, editor, security, developer, development expert, display. I'm just giving this authorization to him, and let me save this. Hopefully I should be able to access my development tools on browser. Let's come back. It's not working. There's some problem. Maybe what I'll do is I'll change this to SAP HANA XS LM, guys, Lifecycle Manager tools, and let's run the Lifecycle Manager tools. And it gives me screen for LM tool now. Hopefully it is loading. There is something I'm missing. It's still loading. I have to also give him some authorization to be able to read the content, correct? Otherwise, he will not be able to access the packages also. So let me just go ahead and grant the user authorization to be able to read the content. So I just give him the content admin. Yeah, this content admin authorization, and also give the modeler authorization to the user. Modeling authorization. So these two I'm adding, and there is one more authorization which you need to add so that he will be able to look at the content inside of packages, and that's something called an object privilege with the name called, there is a procedure inside of SAP HANA system called repository REST. That repository REST procedure authorization you have to also grant to your user. and there should be an execute authorization on repository REST you need to grant to be able to see the content inside the packages. So these are all bare minimum authorizations I have given now: modeling, content admin, object privileges with repository REST execute, and then application privileges to be able to access the web-based development tools. I am saving this user. It got updated, and let me just come back and refresh my page. Why it's not working? I think it's still there is something I'm missing. Okay, so I think the problem is it should not be application privileges. Let me remove all of them, save the user quickly, come back now to granted roles. There are standard roles delivered by SAP, guys, not the application privileges. Application privileges to control what is that you can access inside of an application. But here the granted roles is the default roles delivered by SAP for the development activities. I say plus, and I'll go to my PPT, and you see SAP HANA XS IDE roles. These are ready to use roles by SAP delivered to us, and I choose this, and then you see these roles: catalog developer, developer, and editor developer. These three I'm granting. Okay, save this. And now let's come back to my web ID. Yes, it got updated. Come back and just put in the URL once again. And it is this one / SAP HANA IDE, guys. Let's click on that. And voila, you see the SAP HANA web-based development workbench is loading for me. Now, one quick thing I wanted to show you. I will just go back to maybe my web tool, which I logged in as a system user. I go here for the Anubhav user. I'm just going to keep the roles remaining. Modeling and content admin role currently I'm removing, just to show you what happens when these roles are not there. So I removed them now. I just have the web IDE roles, the roles to access the IDE, web-based development tool. Let me refresh and show you. It's still I am having it. Now I will go to editor. Okay. Now I will go to editor. So I click on editor. You see it's launching my web editor for HANA XS Development inside of my HANA Cloud Platform trial account. And I can also launch catalog from here to look at all the schemas inside a web development tool, which I can exactly see same thing inside of Eclipse also. So let's see this. You see it's just connecting in. You can also connect the user with your local development tools. But since I want to promote the web-based tool, because that's the future, we are right now connecting with the web tool. In next session, I will also show you connecting with the local tool as well. Okay, so let's run this. It's loading up. You see both the editor. So let me put these URLs, endpoints, so that you just use your HANA Cloud Platform account with this. So one is IDE, one is editor. So you see it has opened me an editor now. See guys, it has opened me an editor, and it has also opened me the catalog where I can browse my schema. You see by default system have created a schema called Anubhav for my user Anubhav. Okay, and you see on the right side here you see your content. Now let me try creating a package. So right click, say new package, and I'm just going to name this package as Anubhav, my new package for first project, and I say create. Will it allow me to create a package or not? Anyone? What do you think? Will system allow me to create a package? Click on create. You see you got an error. So you have got the web IDE development tool access, the web-based development tool access called River Development Environment, but you still don't have authorization to create packages. And that's where now I go back as a system administrator user. I go to my user Anubhav, and now I give him an authorization to be able to create packages. The authorization name is creating allowing user to create packages inside root package. So you don't see the root package, guys, inside the system. There, imagine there is a package called root package, which is the super package of all the packages in the system. And all the packages which you see below are children of root package. So currently the developer user which we created here, he don't have the authorization to create a child package inside this root package. That's why I am not allowed to create. So now I need to give authorization to the user to allow him to give an access to be able to create packages inside the root package. And that's what I will show you now next. So we are going step by step. So majority of the time you see directly people start developing an application, but they won't tell you if it's a fresh system, how do you start with a new user, how do you grant user authorization step by step to be able to create stuff. And that's what we are going to do, because many times when you're developing something inside system, you would find it difficult because of authorization, because you're unclear about authorization concept. So now I come back and give him an object privilege, click on plus, give him a package privilege, because root package is actually a package only. So I come here for package privilege and I search for repo. The root package name is called repo package, guys. So now I'm searching for root package information called repo. So it's searching now. You see you got a root package here. Select that, click on OK. And now you see I have to give authorization for him to do a repo read, edit native objects, activate native objects, maintain native packages, which means I want under the root package to read all the packages. I want under the root package to be able to edit the packages and objects. I want him to give authorization to be able to activate the objects inside packages, and also to create new packages inside root package. These authorizations I want to give it to the user. Let's execute it. So this is all admin tasks which ideally you should not do. Your database administrator should ideally know these things in real time. Okay, got it executed. Now come back, just refresh, guys. Right now you only see SAP package. Refresh. And let's see what happens. And now you see, earlier you were just seeing one public package which was SAP, and now you see all the other packages are also available. Okay, now you can create a package. So right click, new package. I want to give the package name Anubhav. Say my first package for XS Development. Click on create. You can also put the responsible person name as your ID, and in language is English, let's say. Click on create. And I see Anubhav package got created. Now inside of this, I say new. And then I will say, I want to create a new application. So you see create application option. And I want to create a very simple application called empty application with XS and XSA. Okay, XS and XS app file. Let me give this application as first app. Click on create. So you will see now system creates an application for us. An access application, guys. Your first access application is getting created. Just right click. Sometime there's a problem. Just refresh. You see now inside of this package, I don't have authorization. Actually, it has created the application as a separate package only, guys. Okay, I want to create it inside of my Anubhav package. So maybe can I drag and drop? Can I change the package? No, I can say cut. I can say right click and say paste. No, yeah, yes. Okay, so inside of my package Anubhav, now I have my first app. So I'm going to remove this guy from here, which is not required. Just going to delete. It gets deleted. Just right click and refresh. Okay, now you see you have your Anubhav package inside that a project, and that project has two different files by default created. What are all these files, guys? Let's talk about these two files which gets created and mandatory for every XS project, guys. Very, very important. Every XS project must have to have these two files by default created. The first file comes is your XS app file. So whenever we create an XS project, we must have two files created inside of your application. The first file is called XS app file. XS app file. This file marks the root folder of your application. Why it is required? Let's say you are going to create a project, and inside this project you are going to group your artifacts. So all my database artifact, I'm going to group it inside a subfolder called DB. Okay. Inside of this, then I will also have all my services inside of another folder. So you don't develop everything under one folder. You give a proper structure to your application. Just like in ABAP, you give packages, sub packages. Similarly, every project which you're developing, there are certain standards. You need to follow those standards and make sure that you modularize your structure of the application properly. So anything related to user interface, UI, you will put it in a different sub package. So this is how you structure your content inside of SAP HANA XS project. Now, how you refer to a service which is inside service folder, or how you refer to a file, DB file, which is inside DB folder, or how you refer to an index HTML file, which is inside UI folder. You need to refer through a path. So you need to know the path of this root folder, which is the root of everybody. This is the starting point for my app. This is my root folder path, root of application. How do you mark that this is my root of application? This is what is the folder which has all the other things inside of it. That is done using XS app file. So you will put XS app file at the project level always. You will keep it empty always. Okay. You will keep it empty. And this is how you mark this folder as the root folder for your application, guys. For your application. Now, by mistake, if you put XS app inside of DB folder, then DB folder becomes the root. Is the DB folder is the root of your application, guys, in this case? Can you run only DB files to be able to run your entire app? Of course not. You need user interface also. So that's the reason this file is kept at the project level to mark. So whichever folder this file exists inside, that will be automatically marked as a root of your application. And this is what makes the path of your application to access the app and its subordinates and its folders and files inside of it. So that's the first file, XS app file. The second comes is XS XS file. XS XS file controls the authorization. It controls the access of your project. So later point of time when I will create application role, I will be adding those roles inside of this XS XS file. Okay. At that point of time, we will be adding in XS XS file. This will also control the access properties of your project. Can someone access your project? Can someone run it? Or maybe it's all about web-based development, guys. So what you do is you create a web application, and this web application is executed or called by user directly. Okay, so this is a user who is now calling this web application. Now it is also so possible that you make this web application called by another web application. So this web application is a trust relationship with your web application. Okay, like a launchpad. So from launchpad, you're going to launch this application. So they're both having a trusted relationship. But what if there is another website which is calling this launchpad? Now, using this website, can you access this application, which is now called cross-origin resource sharing? I don't want to allow this. I can control such settings directly in XS XS file. Sometimes something terribly wrong in your production, you immediately want to stop the access of your application. How can you do that? Sometime something terribly wrong in the production system, and you don't want users to access your application by any chance, by any means. You want to stop it immediately. All that is also controlled with the XS access file, guys. So let's go to the system and look at the content of these two files quickly. XS app file, of course, it will be an empty. And these are all written in JSON format. We'll discuss what is JSON format and what is JavaScript in our next chapter. Then comes his XS access, and you see here the first parameter is exposed equals to 2. This is what I was talking about. Whenever you want people to be able to access your application, make it true. If you immediately want to stop access to your app, make it false. Okay, make it false. And then comes his authentication, how users should be authenticated. There are 3 types of authentication, which 4 types of authentication which SAP supports: SAML based authentication, form authentication, basic authentication. So those are all the ones which are supported by SAP. So you can choose here which type of authentication user should be asked when user is logging. So form based, basic authentication, SAML, and we have also logon ticket now. So there are a variety of authentication mechanisms which are available here. So I'll use form based authentication. Then rest of the other properties we will be looking in upcoming days. What is the use of it? The important property here is the default file, which tells the system when you run this project, if I click on the project and I execute this project, which is the default file which should get executed. So this is what system is saying. An HTML file, index HTML file, should be executed as a default file when somebody runs this XS project. So that's the default file information maintained here in XS file. I save everything and I just show you what is written inside of my HTML file. So this is a typical HTML file, contains 2 parts. One is header and one the body of HTML. And inside the body of HTML, you can write any content what should be visible to the user. Inside the header of the HTML, you will put the metadata information and the title information for your HTML page. I hope you all know HTML. If not, maybe in the next session, I will give a brief introduction of HTML and then JavaScript. So now I'm just going to put a content, Anubhav's first XS app with new user, and then I will also put here title, my XS app. Save this. I'm just going to select this file and say run, and voila, you see Anubhav's first XS app with new user, and you see on the top the title my XS app is displayed. Congratulations, that's your first native HANA application, not necessarily a true XS application with any XSJS or anything inside, but yes, this is your first XS application completely running natively on SAP HANA database. Any doubt, anybody? So we spend majority of the time today to understand the concept of catalogs, schemas, role concept, what are all the different roles needed for a fresh user to get started. So practice all these admin concepts, assign yourself the right role, create a new user, and try to access this web IDE tools and create your first simple hello world kind of application today. In the next class onwards, we will start first accessing the same thing with the development tool Eclipse, and we'll see what is this concept called repository. Yeah, how to access for your HANA Express edition the development tools, that also I will show you. And then we will also move back and start developing our design time objects for database. So first step of development will be developing complete DB layer for Pizza application. We will build different tables which has all the information stored for your data. We will try to look at the new CDS syntax of SAP HANA, how to build tables, how to create views, how to create reusable table types using HANA CDS concept. What is so advantage of HANA CDS concept? Then slowly we will move to server-side JavaScripting. But before that, in next class, I will give a complete introduction of JavaScript programming, client-side and server-side JavaScript programming, different techniques, so that you get familiar with the JavaScript syntax. So those who are very new, who haven't learned UI5 Fiori, want to get into HTML and JavaScript, we will understand what is JavaScript is all about in our next class. Any questions before we close today's class? Hope you understood how to create a new user. So if you want to subscribe to my course, please go to onlinefiorytrainings.com and subscribe to my course on HANA XS over here. You can also like, share, and do post your comment on this YouTube video to let me know what is your expectation, what is that you are looking for, and then maybe I'll try to incorporate such things also in my upcoming videos on YouTube. Yes, I will share the recording with all of you for that.
Suryakant this side.
Yes, please, Suryakant.
Actually, I have configured Eclipse for my NAC system HANA database, and I am able to access to the Eclipse. However, can you help me through Web IDE, like the screen what you are showing?
Let's try that out. So I will request you to please share your screen.
I am not, when I need to go there, I need to configure it, I need to go through VPN.
First, you need to know the port number of your Access engine, or at what level Access engine is running. Yes, Shekhar, we will cover Node JS. It's part of this course. We will cover Node JS also. Don't worry. So now, yeah, Suryakant, please share your screen. Maybe we will quickly see.
No, I need to connect the VPN. Once I would connect to VPN, then I would come out from this.
Acha. One second. Then let me stop the recording. Thank you so much for the